Hi everyone, my name is Gabriel and this is the Hour of the Raven, your channel for everything Ravenloft, RPG, Dungeons and Dragons, and horror. Today, we shall unravel the mysteries and secrets of the enigmatic Tristen ApBlanc, the Dark Lord who rules the desolate lands of Forlorn. First of all, a warning to the curious adventurer. This video will reveal several secrets of the macabre Lord Tristen ApBlanc, and if you plan to participate as a player in any Forlorn campaign, it may be wise to talk to your dungeon master before watching this video. Are you ready? Then follow me to the inner courtyard of the castle at the foot of this twisted and old oak, and hear the sinister secrets whispered by the cursed wraiths and ghosts that roam the timeless battlements of Castle Tristenoira. Hour of the Raven. I was going to heal you, bring you back to light. Yet instead I curse you. With my dying breath, I beseech the gods to make you an eternal prisoner of this place, which you have stained with evil. Let murder burn in your veins with every setting of the sun, and may peace never come to you. Tristen ApBlanc is the Dark Lord who rules the domain of Forlorn. His tragic past spanned many centuries, and his crimes have condemned all of the ancient barony of Forfar to a terrible fate. Tristen is a cursed creature that exists in two distinct forms. During daytime, he has a human body, but in his veins runs his father's vampiric heritage. He is a vampyr, a human contaminated with vampiric blood, and who, despite a mortal body, feeds on human blood. At night, however, when the sun goes down, Tristen's body burns from within, until his body succumbs in pain and suffering. He then emerges as a powerful and grotesque-looking ghost, haunting the night until the sun rises again, and his body is once more revived like a vampire. During the daytime, in the old days when he lived among people, Tristen had already adopted many masks, hiding his true monstrous nature. He was once known as a charismatic bard, known simply as Lord ApBlanc, and also a tyrant warrior and conqueror by the name of Mark ApBlanc. Despite behaving like an educated, charismatic, and seductive nobleman, Tristen is manipulative and cruel, and reveals his monstrous and tyrannical nature to those who see through his masks. Regardless of his social masks, he always presents himself in clothes typical of the culture of the barony of Forfar, wearing the kilt and the sporran that contain the colors and insignia of his clan. As a Dark Lord of Forlorn, he is able to close the boundaries of his domain, if he so wishes, and anyone attempting to cross the boundaries to escape his domain will be immediately paralyzed, unable to take a step away from Forlorn. As a vampire, Tristen needs to feed on blood, but only once every 4 days. His fangs only grows while feeding, or when he is enraged. In other aspects, he is no different from another man, and can eat and drink normally, and even expose himself to sunlight that only causes him a slight discomfort. During the day, as a vampire, Tristen can use his vampiric blood inheritance to control wolves, or even transform into a dire wolf himself. At any moment, he is also able to mentally control the goblins in his domain, as well as the wolf packs, and even raise dead wolves like zombies to serve him. At night, Tristen's physical body undergoes an unhandled transformation, as he seems to burn from the inside out. He then takes the hideous figure of a ghost with a body marked by horrible burns. His spectral form allows him to pass through walls, as well as perform a large number of supernatural effects, including causing the victims of his touch to age abruptly. In this form, he can only be hit by powerful magical weapons, and is virtually indestructible, being able to regenerate his spectral body with ease. Destroying Tristan is almost an impossible task, but he has a few weaknesses. He suffers greatly from contact with holy water, and has an aversion and repulsion to deer antlers. If he is destroyed in combat, such a circumstance will only bring him a minor setback, for as soon as the sun rises or sets, he will resurface with a new form, as imposed by his curse, either as a vampyr or as a ghost. Despite his innumerable powers and dominion over Forlorn, Tristan is prisoner within its own castle, and his curse does not allow him to depart more than 300 feet from the ancient oak, in the center of the inner courtyard of Castle Tristenoira. His essence is linked to the ancient oak tree, and although the tree is virtually indestructible, any damage done to its trunk is directly transferred to Tristan. Only for a brief period of time Tristan is truly vulnerable. During 4 days of the year, in the solstice and equinoxes, Tristan is once again an ordinary human for 24 hours, and can suffer a permanent death if destroyed during this period. Tristan keeps his weakness a well-guarded secret, and hides in a very well-protected area inside Castle Tristenoira during this period. But what led Tristan to such an unique and tormented condition? What are the secrets of his tragic past? Tristan was born in the year 207 of the Barovian calendar, son of Lord ApBlanc and Ravenloft Aptosh. Although the couple were recently married, Tristan's father, Ravenloft, was sent to fight in a war and did not return from battle. Wounded and dying, lost in the mud of the battlefield, Ravenloft was found by a vampire who completely drained his blood. Dead and forgotten, without a clergyman to take care of his soul, or relatives to take care of his body, Ravenloft returned from the dead as a vampire, and finally began his journey home. Lord ApBlanc discovered her pregnancy after Ravenloft's departure. She soon heard rumors of sightings of her husband in the city of Birnen. At night, she fled from her house and began roaming the streets looking for him. When she finally found him, maddened by love, Flora continued her love affair with the undead Ravenloft, protecting him and letting him drink from her blood, even while pregnant. Ravenloft's hunger was not fully satisfied by his wife, and soon other bodies appeared in the areas of Birnen, and the vampire was hunted and destroyed by a group of hunters. A mob intended to kill Flora as well, for engaging in protecting a vampire, accusing her of being a witch and a consort of evil. After Tristan's birth, the villagers of Birnen lost patience and decided it was time to Flora to pay for her sins. An angry mob invaded the ApBlanc hall, and Flora fled until she reached a sacred grove of the druids, where she begged for help. Handing over her newborn son to Ruel, a druid, she begged her to save her son's life. When the mob arrived at the grove, Lord ApBlanc was lynched and hanged in the ancient oak, and the druid Ruel assumed Tristan's baby upbringing as a foster mother. The contact Tristen ApBlanc had with his father's vampiric blood when he was still in his mother's womb contaminated the baby and led him to become a vampyr, a mortal man that had been tainted by the vampiric bloodlust. However, his vampiric traits only began to manifest in his adolescence, and the ashamed Tristan tried to hide his bloodthirst. Ruel, his foster mother, began to find several dead animals near the sacred grove where they live, and one night she found Tristan drinking the blood of a deer. She turned away in horror, but Tristan had noticed her presence. Tristan imagined that his foster mother would tell the other druids about his condition, and that they would soon destroy him. To preserve his life, he sought his father's mother to assassinate her, and found Ruel alone in front of the ancient oak of the sacred grove. Ruel was preparing for a ritual to try to rid his son of the evil vampiric influence, and had ingested holy water to purify herself for the ritual. Tristen treacherously attacked his foster mother, and Ruel, surprised, defended herself with the antlers of a deer, a weapon near at hand. Although the antlers pierced Tristen, he was not detained, and beat her throat brutally, drinking her blood. The holy water that circulated in Ruel's blood began to burn Tristen from inside, bringing him much agony and pain. In fury, he attacked Ruel even more violently, brutalizing her body, while he was burning from the inside out. While dying, Ruel cursed Tristen, so that he was forever a prisoner of this sacred grove he had contaminated with his evil, and that he would die again each evening, never reaching the peace of grave. Ruel's death was followed by Tristan's own death, as his body was burned from the inside out by the blessed water that was mixed in Ruel's blood. The other druids, finding the body of the foster mother and her son, never suspected that they had killed themselves in battle, and assumed that something evil had murdered them. When at nightfall, Tristan's hideous disfigured spectre appeared, the druids fled the sacred grove, leaving the now haunted and cursed place. Tristen soon found himself alone in a desert grove, unable to get more than 300 feet from the oak where his natural mother had been hanged and his foster mother murdered. Every night he died again, burning from the inside out, becoming a horrid ghost, only to be raised from the dead again in the next morning as a mortal human, but with the bloodlust of a vampire. After years of a tedious existence, decided to set the sacred grove on fire, hoping to rid himself of the limitations of his curse. To his surprise, however, the flames licking at the ancient oak did not harm the tree, but burned his own skin. After hours of agony, the fire went out, and although the woods of the once sacred grove were destroyed, the ancient oak remained imposing and untouched. Tristen, enraged, decided to take revenge on everything and everyone. Controlling numerous wolves with the inheritance of his vampiric blood, he plagued the barony of Forlorn with wolf attacks. Tristan's hatred and frustration knew no bounds, and he began to amass a small fortune, gained from the victims dragged by the wolves to the outskirts of his haunted grove. However, even his revenge became tedious and tiresome, and after the death of his grandparents, without heirs to the clan ApBlanc, he devised a plan to once again coexist with the Forlorn society. He contacted a few travelers passing near the ancient oak, claiming to be Lord ApBlanc, a distant relative from the clan ApBlanc, and claiming interest in purchasing the lands where the ancient oak remained. The charismatic Tristen presented himself as a rich and eccentric traveling minstrel, and despite his eccentricity and refusal to leave his camp near the oak, he succeeded in his quest to acquire that piece of land. He then hired dozens of workers to erect an imposing fortified tower, the ApBlanc Tower, using his resources to fund this construction. Despite strange accidents surrounding the construction, it was finally completed, and Lord ApBlanc hired servants for the tower, where we received guests during the day. With noble descent, good looks and charisma, Lord ApBlanc's eccentricities, such as his refusal to leave his tower or his seclusion at night, were tolerated, and he became the object of interest of several ladies from the city of Birnam. Lord ApBlanc love's desires, however, fell on Isolde ApBlanc, a beautiful lady who was devoted to become a cleric of the Ascent. Tristen tried all his seduction techniques and proposed to Isolde in marriage, but she denied his request, saying that she could not abandon her true calling. Tristen then made a bold move. He told Isolde of his tragic tale, posing as an unjust victim of a curse cast by an evil witch, and revealed to her his monstrous condition. Appealing to Isolde's mercy and claiming that she could, with her love, fulfill her vocation to the goddess and eventually cure him of the curse, he finally convinced her and they married. Isolde was aware of her husband's curse, but blind to the true weakness that dwelt in his heart. Her prayers and healing attempts were never able to remove the curse from Tristen or appease his dark soul. After a few years, Tristen soon lost his interest in Isolde and became a cold and controlling husband. From their marriage, however, 3 children were born. One of these sons, Gideon ApBlanc, died tragically at the age of 12. The child had a dog from whom it was inseparable. However, the dog had sensed Tristen's evil presence, and one day advanced on him, beating his leg. The vindictive Tristen waited for the dog to be alone in the courtyard, and ordered a pack of wolves that served him to enter the yard and attack the dog. Tristen didn't expect, however, that Gideon would spot the scene from the window and come to his dog's rescue. When Tristen realized that his son was also being slaughtered by the wolves, he ordered them to stop the attack, but it was too late, and his son was dead. Sadness and grief took the tower of the ApBlancs, but death would once again prowl their halls a few years later, with even more violence and cruelty, when Tristen's other son, Lord ApBlanc, was murdered. The youth of 18 years old was a strong man, but were always torn between his parents' conflicting yearnings. He had become a great warrior to appease his father, and dedicated himself to the fate of Morrigan to appease his mother. Once, he invited a clergyman and his teacher, Duncan ApBlanc, to visit the tower, and as a jest of politeness and courtesy, offered his own bedchamber to his guests. At night, as Duncan walked down the castle corridors, he came upon the ghost of Tristen, and when attacked by the spectre, he poured holy water over the apparition, causing Tristen to retreat. Fearing that his secret and weakness would be revealed, Tristen decided that the best way to deal with this cleric would be to murder him before he revealed any details about his night encounter. As soon as the day dawned and he returned to his human form, Tristen went to the guest room and took advantage of his helpless sleeping victim to stab his sword in his guts. In surprise and horror, Tristen discovered that the occupant of the room was not the clergyman, but his own son, Lord ApBlanc, whom Tristen had brutally murdered by mistake. Despite the shock of the revelation, Tristen did not hesitate and acted quickly. He hid his weapon in the castle and brought evidence of the torn garments and blood to his son's room, where the clergyman rested. When Lord's body was discovered, a great commotion took the tower, and Tristen ApBlanc accused cleric Duncan of murdering his son, pointing to the evidence of the murder. In an act of desperation, Duncan managed to get rid of his captors and flee. In the womb of Lord's body, a blade fragment was found, but no weapon was found to match this fragment. Although everyone believed that Duncan murdered Lord, the seed of doubt was sown in the mind of Isolde ApBlanc, who knew her husband's true monstrous nature. Finally, a few years later, The couple's daughter, Bragain ApBlanc, would disappear. The young woman had followed in her mother's footsteps and become a cleric of the Ascent. When one night she discovered the ghostly form of her father prowling in the castle, she decided to try to cure her father of his curse, just as her mother had. Not only was Tristan injured by the attempt, but he also realized that his daughter was becoming a cleric woman of great faith and power, and decided to put an end to this threat. He secretly captured and took his daughter to the tower dungeons, where he subjected her to various torture in order to break her spirit and make her abandon her faith in the gods. Bragging ApBlanc's disappearance was greatly felt by all, and such groups were carried out without success. Her mother, unaware of the tower underground dungeons, roamed the corridors in despair and sadness, searching for her daughter in vain, unaware that they were under the same roof. After a year in the dungeons, Bragain had not given up her faith, and mysteriously disappeared. Not even Tristan knew how she escaped, and where she would have gone, and he never heard from her daughter again. In that same year, the desperate Isolde finally decided to confront Tristan over her suspicions involving the death and disappearance of her children. Tristan did not tolerate the truth in his wife's accusation and attacked her, draining her blood and throwing her dying body from the top of the tower. To all servants, he revealed that his wife had committed suicide. With all his family dead, Lord Tristen remained in his tower and realized the futility of trying to live a normal life or to hide his monstrous nature. Some servants began to suffer from strange weakness and illness, and some suffered mysterious accidents. After the disappearance of part of the staff, the other servants soon left the tower, saying that the place was haunted and cursed, and Lord Tristen lived there entirely alone for a few years. After 463 of the Barovian calendar, no one else spotted Tristan anymore, and the locals assumed that Lord ApBlanc had simply abandoned his tower or joined his family through suicide. After nearly 50 years of abandonment, the forest grew around the tower again, and no one heard or saw Tristan. He, however, resumed to command the wolves and other dark forces that would serve him, and began to raise funds for his new diabolical plans. In 519, when all those who knew his former identity as Lord ApBlanc, the minister, were dead, his plan was finally put into action. Lights were once more seen from the top of the Tower ApBlanc, and when brave locals went to investigate, they found Tristan in the abandoned tower, who presented himself as his new persona, Mark ApBlanc. He claimed to be the grandson of Bragain ApBlanc, his own daughter, who had disappeared from the tower, and to have come from distant lands. Presenting false documents, and with his unsettling resemblance to his ancestors' painting, he was officially recognized as the heir to those lands. Using the resources he had acquired over decades, he requested the ruling King Apfito authorization to make improvements on the ApBlanc Tower, and was granted his request. Mark ApBlanc hired numerous workers, but also large groups of mercenaries, and even wanted criminals, to defend his new fortification. When the Apfito clan realized that the expansion plans also involved building a large wall and expanding the tower to a grand castle, they sent a group of soldiers to stop the construction. The soldiers were treacherously attacked and massacred, and their blood added to the mortar of the walls. A blood feud was started, but the Apfito clan have not been able to fight the conflict with full force. Wolves, living and undead, began to attack the population of Birnan and the surrounding areas, and all kinds of dangerous beasts, abominations, and monstrosities began to plague the region, demanding that the Apfito clan used their forces to protect their lands and their subjects. The construction of the castle was concluded in 533, and Tristan then openly challenged the clan Apfito for the dominion over the barony, demanding that Mark ApBlanc should be recognized as the new Baron of Forfar. A bloody conflict ensued, and after 10 years of war, Tristan finally besieged the Apfito Hall in Birnan. The cruel Tristan cornered the Apfito clan inside the hall and set the place on fire, killing 23 family members, including elderly women and children. In 546, the people of Birnan signed their surrender to Lord Mark ApBlanc, recognizing him as the Baron of Forfar. However, Tristan continued his bloody hunt for the Apfito clan, which only ended in the year 447, when Tristan captured and ordered the torture and execution of the last member of the clan, the paladin Andrew Apfito. After years of torment and evil, the clan Apfito's unjust and bloody hunt and extermination finally drew the attention of the dark powers to Tristen ApBlanc. These tragic events marks the end of the Civil War, but also the passing of the barony of Forfar to the Land of the Mists, in what became known as the Day of Woe. The earth shook as it was shrouded in the mists, and many landslides took place, giving rise to a great lake known as the Lake of Red Tears at the foot of Castle ApBlanc. But the most tragic effect of this passage was the horrendous transformation of almost all of the inhabitants of Forfar into horrendous beast-like humanoid creatures called goblins. Only a small portion of the population remained immune to such effects, and the druids imagined that only those with red hair, who held in their blood the fairy heritage of the good people, escaped unharmed. Tristan was now a Dark Lord, and the mist extended his supernatural powers over the domain of Forlorn. His victory in the Civil War, however, was empty, for his war had conquered for him only empty lands inhabited by savage and grotesque goblins, who now served him as faithful subjects. Nowadays, Tristan is still looking for a way to break his curse, to stop his agonizing transformations into a ghost at sunset, and to get rid of his confinement to the surroundings of the ancient oak. To achieve this, he pursues two goals. Tristan's intent to destroy the spectre of his foster mother Rual, who has cast on him this terrible curse. He believes the curse will end if the ghost of Rual is destroyed, and given his limitations, he may even try to hire adventurers to hunt his foster mother tormented spirit. Interestingly, the spectre of Rual also tries to use her illusions and ghostly powers to direct adventurers against Tristan's evil goals. His second objective is to get rid of the druids who inhabited these lands and destroy their sacred groves, ending the influence of the druidic faith in Forlorn. Tristan commands his hordes of goblins and wolves in a campaign to the forest Forlorn and to hunt, torture, and kill the druids. His hatred against his foster mother Rual spreads to the other druidic circles that inhabit Forlorn, and he believes that by destroying these groups and their places of power, he would become stronger and finally able to break his curse. As we explore Tristan's remote pasts, the sun sets on Forlorn. For a brief moment, we realize from the view of a castle window that the surroundings of Castle Tristenoira are once again cleared of any vegetation, and we are back at the present time. At this moment, a supernatural presence looms over the room, and Tristan's hideous spectral forms emerge to extract vengeance and protect his secrets. In panic, we flee through the haunted corridors until we are far away from Castle Tristenoira, beyond our host's reach. We cannot rest though, as goblins and their bloodthirsty wolves are on the hunt for our blood. Exhausted, we ran until we reach a grove, where the wolves and goblins hesitate to enter. Inside the woods, a figure in a dark cloak approaches, and we soon surrender to the darkness of unconsciousness. Do not despair, my fellow travelers. In these haunted lands, not everything that lurks in darkness is hateful or evil. And even so, death is not necessarily the end. Stay with us on this journey. Subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bells. And soon we will unveil the identity of this mysterious cloaked figure and what fate holds for us.